Good evening. The meeting of the Aurora City Council for February 9th, 2021 is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Yamas.
Here.
Alderman Garza.
Here.
Alderman Masiacos.
Present.
Alderman Donnell.
Here.
Alderman Franco.
Here.
Alderman Seville.
Here.
Alderman Hart Burns.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Bug.
Here.
Alderman Lafshay.
Here.
Alderman Jenkins.
Here.
Alderman O'Connor.
Here.
Mayor Irvin is present.
On June 26, 2020, the governor of Illinois issued a statewide disaster declaration related to public health concerns. As head of this body, I've determined that an in-person meeting or a meeting otherwise conducted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act is neither practical nor prudent because of the disaster. This meeting will be conducted by internet teleconference without the physical presence of a quorum. Prior to the commencement of this meeting, all members of this body will verify they can see and hear one another. I further find the physical presence of members of the public is not feasible at this meeting due to the disaster, and more specifically, the practical difficulties associated with accommodating the public in an accessible, hygienic location that allows for appropriate social distancing. Alternative arrangements have been made to allow the public to contemporaneously hear all discussions on the roll call votes live on the city's official website, on Facebook, and via Zoom teleconference. Notice of these arrangements have been given in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. The public may address this body consistent with the rules previously adopted and recorded and is adapted by mayoral order. I, Mayor Richard Irvin, am physically present at our regular meeting location as defined by Resolution R20-124. All votes shall be conducted by roll call, and a verbatim record of this meeting shall be made and maintained in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Mr. Muhammad, you want to introduce the folks that are going to be given the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council. Happy Black History Month 2021. Our guests tonight are trailblazers in the community. Leading the pledge for us this evening is Faith Young, a nurse, our Faith community nurse from Amita Health Mercy Medical Center. Faith is also our recipient this week of the Mayor's Healthcare Heroes Award, and we'll hear a little bit more about her in just a minute. Ms. Faith Young, if you can lead us in the pledge.
Pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Faith. And leading our invocation, another trailblazer, the Reverend Yvonne Gilmore, the Senior Minister of Grace Community Christian Church here in Aurora. She holds a BA in International Relations from the American University and a Master's of Divinity from the University of Chicago Divinity School. She was the founding pastor of New Song Community Church in Columbus, Ohio. She's also served as a pastor, an associate pastor, and chaplain in Columbus, Washington, D.C., and Baltimore, Maryland. She's an anti-racism trainer with the Reconciliation Ministry of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ. She's also a poet, a spoken word artist, and a member of the band, the Cornel West Theory. And recently, she was appointed to a very significant major role that we'll talk a little bit more about after the invocation. Reverend Yvonne Gilmore.
Will you join me in an attitude of prayer? Holy One, Spirit of community, everlasting light, you who call us from isolation and solitary considerations to consequential care for our beloved Aurora. O Lord, with gratitude for our beloved city of light, for this distinguished gathering and the divine agenda at work in our midst, with gratitude for the purposes for which we gather, a sense of the gravity of our commitment to the common good and the flourishing of all who we serve. Lord, we thank you. We thank you for the leadership and management and vision of Mayor Irvin, for each alderman, for the faithful service and dedication of their staffs, for those who care for and sustain our community with gracious and generous choices without a title or a salary. Lord, we give you thanks. Tonight, won't you bless each hope that motivates good choices and the next right steps. Bless the hope that motivates continued mask wearing and mitigation measures. Bless the wisdom and the sacrifices that energize and sustain where we are tired. Grant them creativity, fidelity, and genius sufficient for these times. In the spirit of the many names we call you, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Pastor Gilmore. Mayor, moving right into presentations. Pastor Gilmore, Grace is Alderman Edward Buggs' pastor as well, and the family. We are so honored to have her here with us tonight for a number of reasons. She's done great work here in the community, but most recently, Pastor Gilmore was appointed as the Associate General Minister and President of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ and the interim administrative secretary of the National Convocation. What does that mean? The Disciples of Christ, officially called the Christian Church, is a denomination that emphasizes unity, inclusiveness, and social action. They are a movement for wholeness in a fragmented world. Pastor Gilmore, in her role, helps to lead the denomination with nearly 700,000 members in North America, with over 3,600 churches. Right here, leading from Grace Community Church in Aurora. She also leads the denomination throughout the world. We are so honored and so proud of the work that she has done here, that tonight, Pastor Gilmore, as you lead nationally and internationally, we are honored to present you with the Mayor's Award of Excellence for your leadership of the faith community locally and globally. Congratulations on your appointment as Associate General Minister and President of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, and all nearly 700,000 of your members and nearly 3,700 churches. We're so proud as you continue to be a trailblazer and history maker. We can give Pastor Gilmore a round. Pastor Gilmore, any remarks before we turn it to the alderman?
I'm overwhelmed. You don't serve to get awards. You just serve to serve and to do so with excellence. And so I want to thank Mayor Irvin. Thank you, Clayton Muhammad, for your leadership. I'm so grateful for Alderman Ed Bugg and his leadership at Grace and all the ways he's helped me to get connected. I'm grateful for each of you in terms of your leadership. And so with humility, profound surprise, I received this tonight, and yeah, just am grateful to be among and join, elbow to elbow as we during these days and times. There is so much to do, but there is so much that is possible indeed when we work together. And so I'm just so grateful for you and for your leadership and for this, this tremendous award and surprise. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you and surprise. Alderman Bugg, any remarks, and we'll open it to the other alderman.
Definitely. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. We are now learning all throughout Aurora and all throughout the area of what we know at our church, and what a blessing Pastor Reverend Gilmore has been, not only to our church community, but really the overall region. When she joined our congregation, immediately wanted to become involved in the community. That's one of the things. She pulled me aside and asked me and spurred me, how can we get more involved in the community? That's really always her heart, and just her leadership in that way. And I congratulate her. I've not seen her in person for a number of months because we are not meeting yet, but it is a joy and an honor to be able to help bestow this honor upon you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Hart Burns.
Yes, it is indeed a pleasure and honor to say to my sister, Reverend Yvonne Gilmore, congratulations. You are truly above the board. As we have the saying, second to none, you are truly that. But you have brought a lot of light to Aurora. I'm grateful to call you my friend. And whenever I've needed you, you've been there. And it's been just great to know you, and this great accomplishment that you now has bestowed on you. I'm grateful and happy to know that God is blessing you continuously, and the doors are still opening for you, and that is going to continue to have open doors. You are a great woman of God, and look, we all know that you're good at what you do, and that's why you have the great accomplishment. Congratulations, Reverend Yvonne Gilmore. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other alderman before we turn it to the mayor? Mayor Irvin.
Reverend Gilmore, very good to see you again. Even though we're only seeing each other here virtually on Zoom, it's very good to lay eyes upon you. something that you said, struck me. Those of us who truly serve don't serve for the purpose of receiving awards. However, as you also pointed out, you serve because you want to with excellence. So when you do serve with that excellence, it's this administration's responsibility to recognize that excellence of your service. So thank you for all you do for the city of Aurora. Thank you for you do for the faith community. Without people like you standing out and stepping up, this world would be a place wanting for more. But you fill that void, and thank you for filling that void. And again, thank you for everything you do. And I'd be remiss not to mention when former Alderman Rick Mervine was on the city council, he was also a member of your church as well. So I'm sure if he were here today, he'd also be showing recognition for the excellence that you show to this city every single day that you serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, because of her excellence and faithfulness, she's gone from leading this congregation to leading the denomination. It's a major, major move, and we're so proud to have you here. We will give the physical award to you, Pastor, but wanted to present it to you virtually tonight. Thank you and congratulations. You are Black history in action. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Mayor, tonight we also, you can hang on just a bit. Tonight we also honor a healthcare hero, leader of the week. As you know, every city council meeting, we honor those in the health community who are going above and beyond, which is all of them. We're just giving a spotlight. Tonight, our honoree is someone we know exceptionally well, Faith Young, MSN, RN, our faith community nurse from Amita Health Mercy Medical Center. Faith holds a bachelor's degree of science and a master's in nursing administration. In 2014, she was recruited to promote health and wellness in the Fox Valley African American churches. In an effort to help individuals decrease their risk for heart disease, diabetes, and stroke, she coordinated a Christian community walking club to increase exercise tolerance. Over 150 people have participated. In 2019, she coordinated a team that secured first place at the largest Chicagoland Gospel Run, the 5K team, which is also comprised of over 150 African Americans. Major work she's been doing here for nearly 7 years. She's also involved in cancer advocacy. She's tripled the African American participation in the annual Fox Valley Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk. She's been invited to Washington, D.C. on several occasions to speak to our lawmakers about increased cancer research funding in an effort to bring awareness of the need for African Americans to have more access to research trials. She's also a Northern Illinois University RN BSN preceptor for the Leadership Practical course, with an emphasis on managing and training lead volunteers to decrease risk factors for chronic disease in the Black community. She's happily married to Lawrence, and they're raising Lawrence II, Lauren, and Victor to continue to serve. This week's Healthcare Hero Award is honorably presented to Faith Young, the Faith Community Nurse from Amita Healthcare Mercy. Faith, for your stalwart efforts to provide professional, quality, and compassionate care to your patients, their families, and our community. You are a hero in the truest sense because of your actions, your reactions, and your resilience. Thank you for your selfless service. And we can give a round of applause to Healthcare Hero, honoree, Faith Young. Faith, we'll turn it over.
Thank you so much. This is unexpected would be the word. It's just an honor to serve in the city of Aurora. It is, for anybody that's listening, you're welcome. It is a user-friendly place where you can get involved and enjoy it. I just today came from doing a vaccine clinic with Kane County Health Department. It's just easy to get involved here and to work with the people that you see on the screen. And I've reached out to them, and thank you so much, Mayor Irvin, for when I've done that. You've been so supportive, and I just really want to thank all of you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Before we turn to the mayor, we'll open it to Alderman for comments.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Jenkins.
Faith has always been faithful to Aurora. All of her work, all of her activity, from the African American Health Fair to all the listings that Clayton just gave is something that we're so thankful for. Faith has always been there, someone that she has called and helped and really gone above and beyond. And this award is just spot on. And so Faith, congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep it on, keep it on. We love you.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Hart Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. She has truly hit the ground running. She's been working tirelessly in the Aurora community, but the pleasure that I have also is knowing who her father is and to have known down through the years. But the blessing is that she is compassionate. She is patient. She's one that listens and she hears what needs to be done. So her heart started to speak when she started seeing what African American was going through in the community, and she saw the things that we couldn't do and what we needed to do. And so she put that in place. I recall her being at Maine Baptist Church, making things work, and coming over to my church, making things work. And she's really got the Aurora community walking, eating better, and feeling better. Faith, congratulations to you for being that healthcare hero that you are and that you will continue to be. Blessings to you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman, before we turn it to the mayor.
Faith, can I thank you, Clayton. Faith, let me just say that you are a testament to those in the healthcare community. You know, I think it goes without saying that our healthcare professionals over this last year have shown great value and great sacrifice to our community here in Aurora and our surrounding communities. But to hear your list of accomplishments and the hard work that you do, you clearly go above and beyond. Faith, you're truly a hero in the city of Aurora, and it is our pleasure to recognize you as such. You know, and I look forward to your continual hard work and making sure that we here in Aurora stay strong and stay healthy. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Another big round of applause, everyone, for our Mayor's Healthcare Hero Awardee. Thank you, Faith, for all that you do and have done, and we know continue to do. We're very proud to know you and proud to have you here in our community. Thank you. We will present you with the physical award as well. Thank you. And Mayor, to continue, as we look at Black History Month this month, making a couple announcements and acknowledgements. The city of Aurora, as we read in the paper, received a top 10 status where Black Americans fare best economically. What a great honor and recognition for the city.
Aurora, top cities in America where Blacks fare best economically. In a study of 129 cities in America, the personal finance website Smart Asset ranked several factors, which include median Black household income, home ownership, that is, labor force participation, and business ownership. Aurora ranked third, sharing the spot with Pembroke Pines, Florida. Other cities that top the list: Virginia Beach, Virginia, Grand Prairie, Texas, Miramar, Florida, and Charlotte, North Carolina.
Y mientras el país celebra el mes de la historia negra, Aurora fue nombrada entre las ciudades del país donde los afroamericanos le va mejor de manera financiera. El sitio de internet Smart Assets realizó un análisis en ciudades donde la comunidad afroamericana tiende a prosperar económicamente. Aurora ocupa el primer lugar de esta lista. Usaron parámetros, por ejemplo, como ingreso promedio, índice de promedio o de empleo y también porcentaje de afroamericanos con título universitario.
One of those markers were business ownership rates, and last year, 25% of the new businesses in Aurora that opened are Black owned. We look forward to continue to watching that growth that speaks volumes about the work that is happening here in Aurora, and to have it presented during Black History Month is an honor. And tonight, Alderman and Mayor, we also have another distinction nationally that we're very proud of. Number 3 for Blacks who fare economically and are the top 100 cities in the United States of America. Money Geek said the city of Aurora, Illinois is number 15 in the cities where Black women prosper. And so we know that here in the foundation of this city, we've definitely done a great work these last 4 years, in particular, looking again at home ownership rates, business rates, employability rates, and watching Black women in leadership all throughout, from the young to the old and older. And we see here in this group right here, from our superintendent of East Aurora Schools, our board members, Dr. Durrell, Avis Miller, Kim Hatch, action, and former West Aurora Superintendent Cynthia Latimer, just that snapshot of Black women who are doing the work here in Aurora. We are honored that news release will come out officially in the morning, but through Money Geek Magazine announcing this week that a city of Aurora, Illinois, top 100 cities in America where Black women prosper, and Smart Asset, the #3 city in America, Aurora, Illinois, where Blacks fare economically. Big round of applause to the work that's happening here in the city under the leadership of our 59th Mayor, Richard Irvin. Thank you as we move forward. And speaking of the mayors, we honor Black History Month. You know, this is, as we know, we're not be able to gather this month, so the mayor's taking his Community Conversation series. This is Community Conversation number 31 and 32 as we focus on Black history. Thursday, February 18th at 6:30, Community Conversation called The First but Not the Last, a conversation with some of the Black trailblazers in the city of Aurora, who have been the first in categories, but making certain that they not just walk through the door, but keep that door open for future generations. A week later, Stony the Road We Trod, a historical look at Aurora's first Black residents and that foundation that was laid right around the Civil War and that journey as we now have our first Black mayor in the city of Aurora. We look forward to the community conversations. And also at that Thursday, February 26th, the mayor will present his annual community award that we present to the Lifetime Achievers, the Lifetime Achievement Award and the Young Emerging Leaders Award that he generally presents at the African American Heritage Board's dinner. He'll present it that night as well. So stay tuned for additional information. And then finally, Mayor, to wrap up the presentations tonight, the Black History Month proclamation. And it reads, whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our city, country, and world. And whereas Dr. Carter G. Woodson initiated Negro History Week in February 1926, which was expanded to Black History Month 50 years later during the nation's bicentennial in 1976. And whereas the history of Aurora is fortified with the stories of African Americans who have helped to shape our community from the Civil War era through the Civil Rights Movement and well into contemporary times. And whereas Aurora has had such African American trailblazers as Marie Wilkinson, the matriarch of Aurora, Donald Patterson, the first Black person elected to office in Aurora, serving as county commissioner, Shakita Hart Burns, the first Black person elected to the Aurora City Council, and Richard C. Irvin, the first Black person elected as mayor of this city, and countless others who have paved and continue to pave the way. And whereas the city of Aurora has been part of the global racial reckoning this past year and has implemented the Change Reform Initiative as both a lens to review our policies and practices and as a foundation for greater diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice in our community. And whereas this year, Aurora has been nationally recognized by Smart Asset as one of the top cities in the nation where Blacks fare best economically, and ranked by Money Geek as one of the top cities in the country where Black women prosper.
Now, therefore, I, Mayor Richard C. Irvin, recognize the daily contributions made by Aurora's Black community in every industry and through various initiatives, and acknowledge the representation and leadership of the Aurora City Council provided by Alderwoman Shakita Hart Burns, who is in her 30th year of service, Ward 9 Alderman Edward J. Bugg, and Alderman at Large Sherman Jenkins, and who hereby proclaim February as Black History Month in the city of Aurora. Let's give that a round of applause.
Mayor, we asked our 3 aldermen who serve so faithfully to accept the proclamation on behalf of their communities, and they have comments. We'll begin with whoever would like to volunteer.
Ladies first.
Thank you so much. Truly, eyes haven't seen, neither have ears heard that which we always going to continue to do and that which we're going to do. But the blessing is for Black History Month. I'm grateful to have served all these years and to have been one person who wanted to make a difference, and that one person that knew how to make a difference. So my getting involved in the Aurora community throughout Aurora has made me who I am. Mayor, thank you so much for recognizing the 3 of us for Black History Month. And thank you so much for being that leader as well. You have done great things. You opened many doors for all of us, and we thank you for that. Black History Month would not be the same without the 4 of us. Thank you so much.
Next.
All right. Mr. Mayor, my fellow colleagues on the council, This is a time that we all must recognize the contributions of what we as citizens have done for our communities. And I, for one, am thankful to know that have worked hard to make Aurora the best place that anybody can live in. And I'm thankful for the time that I've spent with the city prior to being on the council and economic development and the things that we were able to accomplish and the many people that I worked with and I became good friends with, but also knowing that as a council, as a city, we continue to strive to make it better. And for the achievements that we have just heard tonight in this Black History Month proclamation is something that really makes your heart proud to know that you are part of it and that you want to continue to make it something that others can follow us and continue to make the city of Aurora the best that it can be. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for this proclamation and recognizing myself and others who continue to work to make Aurora the best it can be.
Thank you. I also want to thank the mayor. And when I think of what it means to serve, I think back to my father. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I remember my dad taking me to Operation Breadbasket when I was a little kid and helping to serve people in Chicago on Saturday mornings. That was a long time ago. But that's really where I learned and watching him and serving in the community. And now, so many years later, to be a part of not just a good council, but an excellent council led by a true pioneer in Mayor Irvin. And what I think about with Mayor Irvin, it was really a highlight, I think, for all of us when we were there, when we really stood up and talked about a new holiday for MLK in the city of Aurora. That was something we had talked about for decades to come to fruition under the leadership of Mayor Irvin. That was really a highlight for me in my time. And it's just an honor to serve with these other aldermen under Mayor Irvin. So thank you.
If I may add, Mr. Muhammad,
Yeah, definitely.
that first of all, I appreciate all of our members of City Council and our African American members. I know that we are celebrating all of your accomplishments as well as all the accomplishments of those business folk that we've seen open business in the city of Aurora. All of the strong women that are leaders in Black women that are leaders in Aurora, and all the other folks that of color that we recognize this month in February, that we celebrate this month in February. However, I think we all agree that although we celebrate in the month of February, we should recognize their accomplishments every single day, because it's not just to be highlighted in 1 month out the year, because this is hard work that all of you and all these people that we've seen put in every single day throughout the year. The hard work we have to put in to have an equal playing field with our counterparts. So I just want to congratulate you for everything you do. Congratulate you for the years you've put in. Alderman Hart Burns as the first African American on the council, for the years you've put in. Alderman Jenkins, not just as alderman, but as the first African American economic development director. For all the years you've put in, Alderman Bug, I believe in your third term as the first African American elected in Ward 9. These are no small feats, but you guys did it. And as Clayton talked about, even though we are all the first, we definitely don't want to be the last. Thank you for all you do for the city of Aurora.
Thank you, Mayor. And we'll continue that very conversation on Thursday, the 18th, with these trailblazers and a number of others who are the first as we open up. And Mayor, as I conclude our presentation, encouraging the community just to stay tuned to our Facebook page and so many others as we celebrate this year in such a more pronounced and different way than we've seen before, that we're very proud of what's happening here in the city of Aurora. And as you take a drive through downtown and you drive on Broadway, drive by the new bridge the pedestrian bridge that is lit in those very colors of yellow, red, and green in honor of Black History Month. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. All right. So let us go on to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
Mr. Mayor, are we going to do the update?
On the change initiative, Mr.
No, that was all inclusive for this
That was
time.
included in the change, yeah.
Okay, very good. Yes, we do have someone present for public comment.
All right, Madam, will you read the rules of public comment, please?
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the city council for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair for the purpose of maintaining order may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the city council shall not engage with or respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment within the scope of the city's authority following the adjournment of this meeting.
Madam Clerk, will you read the name of the first person wishing to offer public comment?
Tanya Killebrew.
Ms. Killebrew.
Hello.
Ms. Killebrew, can you hear my voice okay?
Yes. Can you hear mine?
I sure can, ma'am. You have 30 seconds. I'm sorry, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
Thank you for the 3 minutes instead of the 30 seconds. How are you, Mr. Mayor, and all council members? I'm originally from Aurora, but I moved to Minnesota back in the 80s, and I lived there for over 30 years. And so I just got back here a few years ago. But I do have an issue about the snow plowing, and I do catch the bus to work. And I do have a slight disability where I use a cane to walk with. And so over the years, I have seen the snow, how it's been plowed. And I'm just giving a suggestion because I think maybe the city could do a better job with snowing. So the reason I'm speaking is because like on the sidewalk, and where it's for the people who are handicapped, if they were blind or if they were in a wheelchair, the snow is pushed up in the embankment where you cannot cross. You have to walk over big hills. Now, as I rode down New York Street today, I see every sidewalk where you have to cross. Every sidewalk in every business, it snows. You have to walk in the street. And I think for a person who's disabled, or even if you're not even disabled, you can't walk, and then you have to stand in the streets to catch the bus. So then you're getting honked at. You get in a chance, you're going to get hit. So I have a suggestion, and I don't know how it would work in the city of Aurora, but this is what they did when I lived in Minneapolis. They have snow days, which I'm pretty sure you have snow days, but they have even an odd day. And I live in an apartment building, and there are people who are snowed in from the plows, even in the parks, even in the area where they're parked, where there are handicap parking because the shovels have shoveled them in. And then they have to get people to come shovel them out. And I'm thinking that's just kind of bad. So going back to what I'm saying about these even and odd days, and it's just a suggestion, and this is just for all over Aurora, that maybe if come up with a thing that on odd days, people would park on the odd side, then they would shovel one side of the street. And then on even days, people would park on the even side of the street, and then they shovel that side of the street. And then if it gets to a point that if they're not on the wrong side or the right side of the street for those even or odd days, then their car get towed. Just a suggestion, because I think it's just a real bad thing for those people like me who have to work, or disabled people, and it's just not a good thing.
Ms. Killebrew.
Over the last few years,
Ms.
over
Killebrew.
my 3 minutes, I'm done. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Hello?
Mayor,
Mr. Mayor, you want
muted.
mute?
I'm sorry about that. Can Mr. Muhammad, will you get her information? Because I would like to follow up with her personally on that. Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Killebrew. Your 3 minutes is up.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Madam Clerk, will you call the next speaker?
There are no further speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right, well, let's move on to the next section of the agenda, mayoral appointments. Madam Clerk, will you read the first item under mayoral appointments?
21-0033, a resolution appointing Matthew Hansen to the Aurora Preservation Commission.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Alderman Hartburns, seconded by Alderman Garza. Are there any questions or discussions regarding this resolution? There being no questions or discussion, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos,
Yes.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco,
Yes.
Alderman Seville,
Yes.
Alderman Hartburns,
Yes.
Alderman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderman Lopshay,
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins,
Yes.
Alderman O'Connor,
Yes.
12-0.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Mr. Hanson, are you on the call? If so, can you please turn on your camera so we can see you and thank you? Thank you in person. Mr. Hanson. Mr. Anderson, is he on? Do you know?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Oh, is that you, Mr. Hanson? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm having difficulty with the video portion,
Okay.
but I'm certainly here to speak. And thank you firstly for the appointment as proposed and passed tonight. Thank you for your leadership, and also thank you to Reverend Gilmore and to everyday health hero Faith for what you do for us right now. It's the words were spoken earlier. We don't serve for awards, we serve to serve. And so your appointment of me to this commission means a lot to me, and I will happily work with everyone on your staff and every single alder person here. My guess is that the issues that are put in front of the respective Preservation Commission and the decision in front of me will be tailored to different communities and different parts of this big, diverse and expansive city. So I'm excited to be on board. Thank you for the appointment, and I look forward to working with everyone really soon.
Thank you for your willingness to serve, brother. All righty. Before the clerk reads the consent agenda in full, we had a question arising regarding item 20-0865, the proposed revision of the plan description for River Street Plaza. Alderman Donnell, Mr. Sieben is available to answer your questions about what the revision will allow and what it will not.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 1st, the day before COW, Beacon article was written about the BZE meeting, which has led to some confusions on what the allowed uses will be. And I wondered if Ed Sieben could enlighten us before we vote tonight.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Alderman Donnell, the BZE committee did affirm the condition of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which was to remove the dry cleaner portion from the permitted use section. So they left drop off and pickup for a cleaner, but not actual dry cleaning on site.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
And just to be clear, Mr. Sieben, that's dry cleaning using any chemicals or dry clean. That doesn't include just regular pressing or ironing or things like that don't use any chemicals, just the chemical component of the dry cleaning?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I have a question.
Alderman Lofty.
Ed, why wouldn't we allow a plant if it did not use perk?
Ask that question one more time. Alderman.
Why would we not allow a dry cleaning plant or, facility if it did not use perk or any bad chemicals? What would be the problem with that?
I believe that was discussed at both the public hearing and BZE committee. There was a thought of there might be some odors or chemicals that may affect the residents upstairs. So the vote was to take that portion out.
And that was prompted by the residents of
That's
that
correct.
particular location. Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions from the Alderman? And just to be clear, Mr. Steven and Alderman Zanell, this was on consent, and you just wanted to address it before we went forward on as part of consent.
Just so we're
That's
clear.
correct.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right. Next, we'll hear both the consent agenda and the direct to council consent agenda together in full. The clerk now please read both agendas in full.
And can you see my screen, Mr. Mayor?
I sure can.
All right. 210231, a resolution authorizing a professional engineering services agreement with Engineering Enterprises Incorporated for the Fox Valley East Water Storage Tank Rehabilitation Project for the Water Production Division. 200804, a resolution authorizing the execution of an engineering agreement with Alfred Benish and Company in the not to exceed amount of $174,780.07 and the appropriation of $175,000 of motor fuel tax funds for the 2021-2022 bridge inspections. 20-0865, an ordinance approving a revision to the River Street Plaza plan description for property located at 140 South River Street, units 100 through 114, and 160 South River Street, units 100 through 114. 20-0888, a resolution requesting ratification for emergency cybersecurity remediation from Data Defenders LLC, corporate headquarters, 111 West Jackson Boulevard, Suite 1700, Chicago, Illinois, 60604, in the amount not to exceed $36,750. 21-0002, a resolution authorizing the execution of a local public agency agreement for federal participation with the state of Illinois, the execution of a Phase 3 construction engineering agreement with Edwin Hancock Engineering Company in the not to exceed amount of $82,680.41, and the appropriation of $608,371 of MFT funds for the Aurora Road resurfacing project. 21-0003, a resolution authorizing the execution of a Phase 2 design engineering agreement with HR Green Incorporated in the not to exceed amount of $662,297.73 and the appropriation of $680,000 of Rebuild Illinois bond funds for the Indian Trail Road reconstruction and High Street intersection project. 21-0004, a resolution authorizing the execution of a Phase 1 and Phase 2 design engineering agreement with Trans Systems in the not to exceed amount of $150,930 and the appropriation of $160,000 of MFT funds for the East New York Street resurfacing, Ohio Street to Farnsworth Avenue project. 21-0007, a resolution authorizing approval of the 2021 Annual Action Plan and Substantial Amendment 2020 number 4 to the 2018, 2019, and 2020 Annual Action Plan funding recommendations. 21-0012, a resolution authorizing the purchase of one Zoll X Series cardiac monitor defibrillator and accessories using the Silver Cross Purchasing Cooperative in the amount of $30,569.34 for the Aurora Fire Department from Zoll Medical Corporation of Chelmsford, Massachusetts. 21-0025, an ordinance amending Chapter 37 entitled Preservation of the Aurora Code of Ordinances to modify certain portions being Article 2, Section 37-21, creation members. 21-0030, an ordinance approving revisions to the City of Aurora's comprehensive plan for the Wolves Crossing sub-area, which includes properties located west of the Canadian National Railroad tracks, east of US Route 30, north of 111th Street, and south of Wolves Crossing Road 9. 21-0038, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a license agreement with the Sugar Grove Park District granting access across property owned by the city of Aurora located at the Aurora Municipal Airport. 21-0041, a resolution authorizing the execution of an engineering agreement with HR Green Incorporated in the not to exceed amount of $19,654 and the appropriation of $20,000 of motor fuel tax funds for the Indian Trail resurfacing project. 21-0043, a resolution to award the contract for the Wood Street, Jungles Avenue, and Hankus Avenue water main replacement project located in Ward 1 to H. Linden & Sons Sewer and Water Incorporated, 722 East South Street, Unit D, Plano, Illinois, 60545, in the amount of $722,758.00. 21-0044, a resolution authorizing a contract with Performance Construction and Engineering LLC, 217 West John Street, Plano, Illinois, 60545, in the amount of $457,966.00 for the Jackson Street and Benton Street separation project located in Ward 2. 21-0061, an ordinance waiving City of Aurora on-site consumption liquor license renewal fees for 2021, 2022. 21-0062, an ordinance amending Article 7 of Chapter 44 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Aurora, to authorize the periodic rebate of the city food and beverage tax in certain circumstances. 21-0076, approval of the minutes of the Tuesday, January 26, 2021 City Council meeting. 21-0080, a resolution accepting the improvements and maintenance security for Transitional Care Facility, 4020 East New York Street.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion made by Alderman Hartburns, second by Alderman Garza. Are there any questions or motions to remove items from either direct to council consent agenda or the consent agenda? All right, there being no motions, is there a motion? There's been a motion to approve both. There being no motions to remove or any questions. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, Alderman Bug. I didn't see you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Just a point of clarification on 21-0030. At the end of that phrase, it should be north of 111th Street and south of Wolf's Crossing Road, Ward 9. The word ward is left out by accident.
Did you get that, Madam Clerk?
I did, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is that it, Alderman Bug?
That's it.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Alderman Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos,
Yes.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco,
Yes.
Alderman Seville,
Yes.
Alderman Hartburns,
Yes.
Alderman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderman Lopshay,
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins,
Yes.
Alderman O'Connor,
Yes.
12-0.
All right, motion carries. The consent agenda and the direct to council consent agenda are both approved. All right, let's go on to unfinished business. And Alderman Jenkins will recuse himself from discussion vote on the item that we're about to address and turn off his camera and audio. Alderman Jenkins. All right, Madam Clerk, will you read the first item under unfinished business?
21-0006, a resolution approving the 2021 Quality of Life grants in the amount of $834,000.
So moved.
There's been a motion to approve this resolution by Alderman Hartburns, seconded by Alderman Seville. Are there any questions or discussion regarding this resolution? There being no question, all right, I do have a little bit of question discussion just to make sure. I had an opportunity to speak with Alderman Garza and Alderman Hartburns. There was a concern from residents about the fact that there were not enough senior services that were included in this particular item as part of the quality of life grants. And we are going to be working on identifying more and bringing more organizations to Aurora that can address senior service issues. As a matter of fact, my office just communicated with a senior services organization today, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, that are looking to start programming in Aurora. And I was on with Mr. Barrerio from Community Services. And we are going to be sending out information so they can participate and we can partner with them to do it as well. As you all know, that we did in our budget identify a position for a senior services outreach coordinator. However, with our budget constraints and having to cut down on our budget for us to be able to balance, we put that on hold for a while. But we're going to be looking to place that position back in the budget, as it's very important that we address our senior service issues and make sure they have the same services as everyone else. Alderman O'Connor.
Yeah, I think that was a follow-up, obviously, from the Finance Committee and the budget hearings, both last year and the year before. And I assume you're referring to the fact that we're going to try to reach out to a number of senior agencies that, have been in the business for quite a while and are in a very good position to be able to assist us in the community One of them being Age Guide, the other being Senior Services here in Kane County. So I'm appreciative of our being able to follow up on that because I think it's going to be very productive.
Absolutely. We spoke with Mr. Barrero just about that today. Fortunately, one of them is a funder, so they fund organizations that provide for it. So we have to actually locate organizations for them to be funded. So we are definitely working on it. It is not falling on deaf ears that we need to make sure that we provide services for our aging population. As our baby boomers are all getting to that point where we got to make sure we have services and keep them happy. I don't know if there's any baby boomers on with us right now. My mom is a baby boomer. Alderman Lofty.
I just want to say that I also agree with this, and I brought this up to aldermen, a couple aldermen, that maybe that 400,000 that's sitting in the bank that we can't give out in the restaurant program, maybe we could give that to senior service people. And there's got to be some services. I know there's senior services with the township. I don't know that we want to invent the wheel. And there's got to be some existing programs in Aurora that we could, instead of trying to find someone outside of Aurora, just an FYI. Thank you.
Yep, totally agree.
Yep, the existing programs, but they are limited, so we need to stand it. Thank you, Mayor, for start working in that.
Absolutely, Alderman Garza, and I appreciate you and Alderman Hartburn's conversation about that today.
Yes.
So, we're back
Thank you
right
so much,
now.
Mayor.
Absolutely. So there being no further questions, Madam Clerk.
Mayor,
I'm sorry, Alderman Smith. I'm sorry.
just to clarify, there are many baby boomers sitting in.
And Alderman Smith, you are not one of them, I'm sure.
I am. and I'm on the younger side of them.
All right, Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll?
Alderman Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos,
Yes.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco,
Yes.
Alderman Seville,
Yes.
Alderman Hart Burns,
Yes.
Alderman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderman Lafshay,
Yes.
Alderman O'Connor,
Yes.
11-0.
Motion carries. The resolution is approved. I believe Alderman Jenkins can come back on and turn his camera on. I'm sure he's very upset he could not participate in that discussion about senior services.
Oh no,
I
I thought you were talking about the youth movement, and I lead that.
There you go, brother. There you go. Madam Clerk, you want to read the next item?
21-0066, a resolution authorizing the Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer, to enact a small business financial relief program to address business losses as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic or other such major business interruption events in an amount not to exceed $1.2 million.
Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
There's been a motion by Alderman Hartburn, seconded by Alderman Garza. Are there any questions or discussions regarding this resolution? Questions or discussions? Alderman Buck.
Can we have a update from staff?
Certainly, Alderman Bug. Good evening, everyone. Since we were last with you at COW, we updated several things after further review on the program, and at a high level, we attached a frequently asked questions document that is listed as a draft. That will also, upon passage, be translated into Spanish and be made available along with the other two items that were on the consent agenda. Will not only be translated into Spanish, but also put on a website. And for SURF specifically, we're going to have staff, dedicated staff with a phone number, also responding to emails and inquiries on the website, and a number of different staff across different disciplines at City Hall, not only assisting the CFO, but also processing and answering questions and helping folks fill out what we believe is a more straightforward application. Speaking of the application, a revised draft is also attached for your consideration. And I've got Trevor Dick on, who was of great assistance also in formulating this, as well as Marty and the rest of our team. But Trevor, maybe you want to hit a couple of highlights, and also credit to Alderman Bug, who followed up with us from last meeting with his concerns, and we've been able to incorporate a number, almost all of his suggestions, and I'd like Trevor to hit those highlights.
Thank you very much, Alex. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone this evening. And yes, thank you, Alderman Bug, for the comments that you provided. You'll see in the application, as well as the memo and the resolution, we addressed some of the topics, essentially all the items that you brought up at the last meeting, especially in terms of process, and also to ask the businesses, for the SURF program, if they followed all of the laws, state, federal, health departments, as well as the governor's orders. And so that is something that we've asked in the application. That's something that we're going to take into consideration when we help make decisions on which businesses to provide funds to. We've also, I want to address one thing too. We work very closely with Marty and his staff, and you'll see we included a table where we identified the variables between $2,000 to $15,000. And that is, of course, based upon the demonstrated losses from one year to the next. And I'll let Marty add to this if I forget something, but I like it a lot because when you look at the table, it splits it up into different percentages for businesses that make over $1 million or under $1 million. And basically what's happening is we're able to spread the wealth, so to speak. We have a lot of small businesses in the city of Aurora, and by splitting it up into those categories, we're going to be able to hit a lot more businesses. So I want to, of course, commend Marty for coming up with that table.
Trevor, you covered it completely, and I just want to again note how this table then works with the rebate program that was on the consent agenda. For a business that is very large, they will get, for instance, a larger rebate because they're paying 1.75% of a percent of sales. So in this regard, we didn't take this table you have before you and say that, gee, someone over $1 million gets twice as much as someone under. No, we're trying to point out that this cash amount will have a larger impact on the smaller businesses, and that is by design.
And if I could add, Mr. Mayor, one more quick point. If you look at the beginning of the application, the 5 requirements, we've also added since last time a requirement that businesses must register on the city's website at no cost, of course, in our business registration program. Perfect. So we thought that would be another opportunity to help boost the data and information for that as well. And I believe we covered the significant changes from last time.
All right. Alderman Masiacos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just feeding off the question of Mr. Alexandru, do social clubs have to do a business registration?
That is a good question.
Because my ultimate question is I was going to ask you to affirm or reaffirm that, to clarify that a small business can include a non-for-profit entity such as a social club before we went to a vote.
Well, it definitely will include social clubs, but I don't believe we're including not-for-profits. We're drawing a distinction there. But
right.
I don't know that
we excluded home businesses.
Yeah, there's a list of exclusions there.
But not all not-for-profits are excluded. The purpose of registering, I believe we had talked about, was for safety. If police or fire go, they need to know, what they're going into and the layout, and that's the purpose of providing it. So I don't think we excluded not-for-profit.
No, not from business registration. We're talking about from SURF.
Oh, got you.
So I'll just add, you'll see that we added here as the last bullet point that nonprofits are excluded unless they pay in the food and beverage tax. Okay. And so that was our way to include those private clubs that I think you're referring to, Alderman Masiacos.
Yeah, I just wanted to just clarify what Mr. Alexandru said, that they have to register. So I'm not quite sure. I don't, my memory bank is.
Yeah, all right. So it sounds like we're talking about two things. So what Alderman Masiacos was talking about, do these social clubs have to register under business registration? Is that your question, Alderman Masiacos?
That's one of them, yes.
Yeah. So
John
yeah.
Curley?
The answer is yes. The like other non-for-profit social clubs should be registering under our business registration program.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So then the next question, Alderman Masiacos, was what?
No, he already, Mr. Alexandru answered it right off the bat.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. I believe Alderman Bug had his hand up there.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank the mayor's office for their hard work on really all three of these, three of the four, the fourth one coming in the future on the business relief programs. We know this is direly needed at this time in our community. The mayor's office did yeoman's work on this. Also, our finance department going to be leading the charge on this SURF program and putting it together. With that, and a number of we discussed, corresponded by email, discussed a number of things. The last point that I had mentioned, I do want to bring up as an amendment to this. And the reason I bring it up is because, I mean, in our normal course of business, the city council approves financial expenditures. So just as we, our very last item was the grants for the grant program, $865,000. Of course, that goes for city council approval. The other programs that we did not come for approval before the city council, the stable fund was an emergent program. Our businesses were closed. It was an emergency situation. We needed to get the money in the hands of those businesses immediately. With the other two programs that we've talked about this evening, especially the liquor license, not only the process, but the result, as of right now, we know the result of that program. The 124 liquor license businesses will be the ones receiving those funds. So we have both the process and the result. And the SURF program, however, will be an application process. It'll be a long kind of review by our leader over in the finance department. We trust them. They will do a fantastic job. We have an award-winning finance department, and we trust their work. But in our normal course of business, what we do as a city council is we get those final results, and then they come for final approval. And with that, this resolution 21-0066, I sent the wording over to the clerk. In the fifth paragraph under the resolution, I will add, as it reads, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Aurora, Illinois, as follows: that the Chief Financial Officer, City Treasurer, is authorized to create the direct cash to business relief fund in support of local businesses as defined in the program and is attached herein, an amount not to exceed 1.2 million in fiscal year 2021, with the qualifications and application process as indicated below, and adding with the final list of recipients being subject to final city council approval, period. For expediency, the final list of recipients will be submitted direct to the city council agenda and new business for approval. And I make that motion for that amendment.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Alderman Hartsburn. I'm sorry, motion made by Alderman Bug. Second by Alderman O'Connor. I almost got it. You didn't have nothing to do with this, Keita. I just like saying your name. Motion made by Alderman Bug, second by Alderman O'Connor. Question, Mr. Veenstra, Corporation Counsel.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know that I heard a motion and a second on the underlying. So,
all right. So we haven't taken the underlying. All right. So, explain what you're saying, because we haven't done a motion and second underline. Alderman Bug just said he wanted an amendment.
my suggestion would be you take a motion to approve the presentation the matter as presented and a second on that.
Okay.
Once you've done that, then entertain Alderman Bugg's motion with Alderman O'Connor's second to amend it.
Okay,
Discuss
so
the
moved.
amendment.
All right, so we'll start over. Hold on just for a second. Alderman Bug and Alderman O'Connor will come back to your motions in a second, that amendment. So a motion to accept the resolution as read by the clerk's office 21-0066. Motion made by Alderman Hart Burns. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Seville. Now there's a motion second on the ordinance as it reads, or the resolution as it reads. At this point, there has been an amendment. The amendment was put forth by Alderman Bug, and he made that motion for the amendment, and Alderman O'Connor seconded. So right now, we're going to be having discussion on the amendment alone and not the full original resolution. So the amendment. So let anyone got any questions or discussions on what Alderman Bug just said? Alderman Franco.
All right, so I'm going to want to hear exactly where this is going again, because I did not follow that at all. Because I didn't know if he was reading. We got to go over this with a fine tooth comb. We'll do it here, but I don't know exactly where that's going, and I want to see the exact verbiage that's going to be added. So we need the clerk to read exactly what we have and what is exactly happening, because I did not follow that at all.
Hello, Alderman, Mr. Alexander.
Well, if I can clarify, because as Alderman Bug said, we did have an exchange of email and an offer of conversation. So Alderman Bug did ask for language to be added, that an extra step, and that is that once staff, Mr. Lyons and staff, come up with a final list of eligible SURF recipients, that it would return to City Council for approval. And my response after talking to staff and after talking to you was that we did not recommend that. And the explanation was that Alderman Bug is correct. Stable was an emergent situation. But back in November, when we started, in December, when we started down this path, based on what we talked about at COW, it was then an emergent situation to create this fund. Based on the need and the context that the mayor's office has had and staff has had with potential eligible businesses, there is still that emergent need. And we did not set up the stable fund that way. We did not recommend that the other two programs, the way we designed the other two programs was seeking legislative approval and authority to do it, and vesting in staff the responsibility to uphold the legislative intent. Similarly here, we are not recommending that, because we're also going to add 3 more weeks to the process. So we were intending on launching this on Monday, February 15th upon approval. We need time to build the online application based on the draft that's before the council, the website, set up the phone number, get everything translated to Spanish, launch February 15th, come back with a deadline to be returned March 3rd. So give folks at least a couple of weeks to review and get their information together. Then take the time to expedite review and then come up with eligible folks. If we have to come back to City Council, we're adding another 3 weeks. Now we're getting into potentially April. There are folks out there that need the money. We are hearing from them every day. So I would respectfully disagree that this is not an emergent situation. We've asked council for authority. We got it on the other two. That's what we're seeking here.
Mayor.
Alderman Patty Smith.
So that's quite a lengthy amendment, and I would have liked to have been able to see it prior to today. Could we ask Alderman Bug to please read it again? It was very quick, and there's a lot of information in there. And it's a lot to add on to what I thought we were presenting and voting on tonight.
Okay, I read the whole paragraph 5. Alderman Smith, you received it in your box about an hour and a half ago. So the added language I'll read the last phrase from what's existing. The 2021 with qualifications and application process as indicated below. That's existing. Adding on with the final list of recipients being subject to final city council approval, period. For expediency, the final list of recipients will be submitted direct to the city council agenda and new business for approval. It will not be 3 weeks. Once Marty Lyons and his staff put together the list, it's approved. The next city council meeting will go on new business for approval.
Okay, and let me just ask a few questions. The maximum amount that any business will be able to get is what, Mr. Lyons?
$15,000.
$15,000. All right. So Alderman Bug, help me to understand. So right now you guys are approving the criteria for each business to receive the money based on how it's written now. So what you're saying, even though you've already approved the criteria, you want to come back before the city council again, so you can just vote on giving a check directly to the business, even though it's less than 25,000?
Yeah, the list. Yeah, the program is a $1.2 million program. That's what the whole list will be.
But each business will get less than $25,000, and you guys are setting the criteria for the expenditure of the whole amount. So what's the purpose of, after you set the criteria, what's the and a business meets the criteria based on city council going through it, what's the purpose of coming back before city council to vote on it again?
For us to approve it, just like we did the quality of life. We just did it 15 minutes ago. That's our normal protocol, is for expenditures. And I'm not breaking it down. It's $1.2 million is what
I totally understand.
But so the quality of life, that's up to, I mean, you take out the CBD, the federal ones, those are up to what? I guess up to 25, but usually we give out 15.
Right. But let me ask you this. Now, those CDBG and the federal dollars, we do that every single year. The SURF thing is an emergency based on the circumstances, based on COVID, that ain't going to happen again. It's just going to be over. So this isn't the normal course of business.
Of course.
Alderman Franco.
So I'm just trying to get the gist of this. So we're coming up with the parameters for the program. You have to comply with the parameters to get the money. But then, so anybody that's on the list is complying. We've vetted them. They're good. And then we want to take a look at it again for the purpose of taking them off, or just saying, yeah, it looks good. You guys did a nice job. I'm trying to figure out what the ultimate reason is to see it if we put the parameters in there and they comply with it. So I guess that's my question going forward. Anybody?
You're asking me?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I will be asking you, because obviously you know what you're talking about. So yes.
Well, it's 2 points. One, we'll be able to get the list and see the entities that applied. There's a number of things that go into an application. One is that they're truthful. We've had discussions about that. Will people give us honest and truthful information? And that's to be seen. But secondly, and more importantly, is that we as a city council vote and approve expenditures. And that, as I said, is our normal course of business. Nothing, of course, against our finance department. They work around the clock putting together a budget of $450 million. Well, once that process is done, after 10 to 11 months, then it goes to city council for approval. And that is our normal course of business. When we have expenditures of any amount over $25,000, it comes to city council, because I appreciate everything that the finance department does, but they don't represent the citizens of Aurora. We do. And if we're going to have a discussion about this, it needs to go to the city council for final approval.
Alderman O'Connor, then Alderman Lofty. Alderman O'Connor.
Well, I think given the nature of the program given the probably very expansive number of applicants we're going to have, and given all the considerations that go into making up the application, I think, I agree with Alderman Bug, that it's just an opportunity for us to make sure that we're looking at what we believe is a consistent, proper list of businesses that are applying. I don't think there's a significant difference between this and, as Alderman Bug has pointed out, the quality of life grants. That's got its parameters. That's got its layout of everything. We in the past have looked at it. We can make changes if we push it. I think this is a case where we have that opportunity in the final analysis, and I don't think that the time factor is critical here, because even though the council meeting set for March, I think, are the 10th and either the 9th or 10th and the following 2 weeks. If it's necessary, we've always been able to have a special meeting of the city council if we want to cut down the time, if there's any lapse of time in between when the final recommendations are being made. So I just think, given the nature of what we're looking at, it's not inappropriate for us to take a look at it and make the final decision.
Alderman Lofton.
Yep, I agree with Alderman O'Connor and Bug. I think the reality is we're closing this on March 3rd. The next city council meeting is 6 days later on March 9th. We're talking about 6 days. I don't know if staff's going to even have it ready by the 9th, but if that's what we're talking about, that would certainly give them a deadline that would be pretty tough to meet anyway, but at least we would know what's going on. So I would vote for it.
Mr. Alexander.
Well, I have to, I apologize, but I'm at a bit of a loss here, because we have designed this and presented this for legislative authority, much like we did for the body worn cameras. This council in advance approved $2 million, up to $2 million, to purchase body worn cams so that we can accelerate the process. Similar here, we're talking about $1.2 million that we have laid out all of the parameters and the requirements that council asked for. We have put it in, and it's going to be put on staff to make sure, just like we did with the stable fund, that all those parameters are met, and then we can quickly get applications in, applications reviewed, and checks out, hopefully in batches, not having to wait the usual process. Now, if you're asking staff to close this out on March 3rd, drop everything else that staff has to do, and try and review these things in 6 days to give you the full vetting, we did put in Alderman Bug's request, the additional factor of compliance. We also have an attestation where we're asking folks to attest that they're telling us the truth. Lastly, we have the numbers, where the comparative numbers will tell the story. Because we do know that there are some businesses, even though they tried to stay open or tried to meet mitigation, could not do it, and the numbers will reflect that. But to turn this around in 6 days, or to, staff needs time, even though we've simplified this, to review the applications. There are going to be questions. There's going to be missing data. We want to give everyone the fairest shot possible. But to now add another 3 weeks to the process of review so that the council can come back, I'm not quite sure what the council is going to do, other than maybe tell us that the staff is wrong, or company X or restaurant Y doesn't deserve the recommendation. I think that's a bit of going beyond the scope of beyond staff. I've been here a long time. I've never seen a program that we've designed that way, to have staff work then done by aldermen. I don't think that's the intent here, but we didn't set stable up that way. And staff feel strongly that this is how we should proceed. We put everything else in that Alderman Bug wanted, but I think this is slowing down at a time when we need to get this done and get money out to our businesses.
Let me ask you a question, Alderman Bug. I know you had your hand raised. You next. I'm going to call on you next. I just want to ask a question first. Are you saying that you'd like to say, because you gave two examples, you said because this is the normal course of business based on what we do with quality of life, and you said because you want to be able to review whether or not the restaurant was actually telling the truth in the affidavit. So are you suggesting you want to set this up so the alderman can remove people from the list?
Oh, we approve. It's for final city council approval. So to answer Mr. Alexandru, the body cameras were set up in that manner, and then the business that was chosen came back to city council for approval. We narrowed it down to 2. We took a look at that, and then we considered it. So it wasn't done after we voted on that process. The process came back to the city council for approval.
Actually,
Quality of
there's
life.
still 2. I'm sorry, there's still, the council gave authorization for the staff and Marty and our team
pick one
to make a selection from the final 2. We don't have to come back to council once we execute that recommendation, other than to report out to you.
Right. You did all the tests and you came back to us with the 2. And so we reviewed
But we
that.
can select one of the 2 and not have to come back to council.
Correct. But you came back to us. That's what I'm saying. We passed the process months ago for you to come back with us with the 2 that you chose, or
Right, but we haven't
worked out
made
in
the final selection, which is not subject to further council approval, because you already gave us that. Just like you gave us $1.4 million in stable fund authority, which we reported back, and we are going to provide the council with a list of eligible SURF recipients. We added that also to the document.
So just to add to that next question. So Alderman Bug, was it for the purposes of being able to remove people from the list that qualify?
Well,
because if they qualify, meet the criteria, why would the alderman be in a position to want to remove anybody from the list anyway?
Well, like you said, the quality of life. Last year, we had a number of recipients. We came back the following week and we changed the recipients. We added more on because of further discussion. And that's the way it happens sometimes. But we considered the list. If we didn't even have the list of quality of life recipients last time to consider and to review, I mean, it really would have been chaotic. But we even when we had the list, we changed it in 14 days. We added more on, more awards went out 2 weeks later.
So it's not for the purpose of taking people off the list, it's the purpose of adding more to the list, possibly?
It is for the city council to review it. Either way.
Alderman Hart Burns and Alderman Jenkins. You're on mute, Alderman Hart Burns.
The quality of life grant, Mr. Mayor, is actually set up that way. The staff does the work and then the aldermen approve it. Is that right? That's what I recall. Is that what you recall, Bob?
Yeah.
That's how it was set up. So I
remember Marty set it up like that.
Yeah, so it was set up like that. So yeah, okay, Marty. So if the quality of life grant is set up that way already, and the staff do the work, and it comes back to the aldermen, I don't know what the question is. I mean, Alderman Bud made the motion and Bob seconded, so it's like just we all out for a question. I think we should come on back and do what we need to do and vote on this.
Any other question or discussion? Alderman Jenkins?
Yeah, I can tell you some of the people who are business owners listening to us tonight are going to say, I'm going to fill this application out and it's going to take forever for me to get the money. So why am I going to bother? I understand about looking at, we put trust, and I'm not saying, we put trust in the staff. We have a great staff, and let's let them, we put together parameters. Let it follow. Let's get this money out there. If you talk to business people when they deal with us, with whether it's federal, state, or local, they say it takes forever. And we don't need to go that route. We didn't have difficulty with the stable fund. The money got out there, and we got to get this out the same way. There are people out there hurting. We're waiting on a stimulus check from the federal government, and we don't know when in the hell that's going to happen. And people are hurting because we're going through all of this. We want to nitpick the hell out of it. We have a crack staff. Let them do their job. Let's get this money out here. And Alderman Bug, you put in some good things in there, and that's great. But this last part, I can't agree to that.
Alderman Smith.
Yeah, just.
And then I'll come back to you, Alderman Garza.
Please, so if we wait, what is the additional time we are putting on this if it comes back to us? Somebody explain to me exactly the additional time we'd be adding on to this. It's not like the government. We are not the federal government. We are much more expedient than they are. So I can't go down your rabbit hole, Alderman Jenkins, but I'd like to know exactly what are we looking at time-wise for us if we decided to have this come back to us.
Well, if it follows the regular course, it would go to the next finance meeting after March 3rd, then COW, then City Council.
That's not the amendment.
I don't think Alderman Bug made that suggestion. He said
that is not the amendment. The amendment is for it to come back for Marty and his team to put out the list as he sees fit. And then it goes to the next City Council meeting to new business for final approval. It doesn't go to finance, doesn't go to COW. We get the list, we can look at it, see it. It's fantastic. We vote on it because we're the representatives of the people of Aurora.
Alderman Garza.
What is the time though? Nobody answered my question. What is it?
I'm agree with Alderman Bach because we need to see the list. We don't want to have surprises like they happen in the stable fund. A lot of businesses in our area, they are out because by the time they realize to fill out the application and try to the chambers helping, nothing happened. So they are already out. So in the first thing, they give us the list. First list, they give us like a half list. And then later they say they want to promise to give it the other list. Then they give it the other list later. So we don't want something like that happen again. We need to see the list. What is the business apply? And what is the business that want to be helped with this money? So I know it's a rush, it's a need in the businesses, but 2-3 weeks, it'll make no difference, really.
Well, the question, hold on. Alderman Smith asked a question. If we could get it based on what Alderman Bug just stated, that it go direct to new business on whatever city council meeting, is the next meeting up. Or we could even do it on a COW, just as long as it's new business, right? So how long would that take?
It's going to depend on how long it takes us to review the applications thoroughly and completely and match them up with the requirements that council has made of us. So Mayor, as we sit here, we cannot answer that question.
So just to be clear, it's not going to be one big list that they review. It's going to come in tranches or peers.
So our intention was to get through everything, get a list done, and move forward and get checks out. That's our intention. That was our understanding from the beginning. Those were our marching orders.
Alderman Franco.
So I would suggest, based on what I've heard, is that why don't we just have a special city council meeting once this list is done, 48 hours notice. If it's that important to get this money out, a special city council meeting would be warranted. It's a 48-hour difference and we just go. And then everybody is somewhat satisfied. We get it out 48 hours after the list is done. That's pretty quick. And then we basically address all these concerns that we're hearing right now.
Alderman O'Connor.
And I'm not sure, I'm going to make the suggestion. I assume that it would be acceptable to Alderman Bug and how this is going. If we come to that city council meeting and we've got 75 recommendations, and there is a concern with one or more of those recommendations, obviously we could, as previously, vote to take one off the list for further examination, proceed with finishing the other 74, 73, whatever it would be, and then take the time at the council meeting for the point to be raised as to why was the request to take it off, and have the staff respond in regard to whatever the concern is at that point. I think it could be settled that same evening, at same time that we were doing it.
Alderman Masiacos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Finally. Okay. I understand with one of our colleagues stating that we need to have trust in staff, and I think we've always mentioned that we do have trust. But what I think Alderman Bug is coming from is we need to verify. These bills typically come in the bill summary and large bill list, I would think as well, coming through. I'm wondering if Mr. Alderman Bug would be amendable to just receiving a list of grantees on a monthly basis until the $1 million or $1.2 million maximum cap is reached, and then just get a report from Marty Lyons, Marty Lyons, about every month about who gets these grants. Because one of the advantages, I think, of getting a list of these grantees on a monthly basis, it affords us an opportunity to go back to our businesses and say, hey, I don't see that you've applied, or you're not moving on it yet. There's still money available. We could help out as well. So I'm trying to get a better understanding from Alderman Bug if he's amendable to something like that.
If the finance department wants to put out a list in addition to the amendment as stated, if they want to put out additional information, I'm fine with that. But the amendment is for the city council to give approval to, the work that's being done. Just like quality of life, just like any other program we set up.
Yep.
Alderman Lofty.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know Alderman Masiacos is trying to find common ground, but we're going to close the applications March 3rd. So I don't know about doing the monthly thing, because hopefully it'll all be done by March 3rd. And I don't know that we can argue on one hand, we're going to be rushing to get the money out, but yet, we're not going to have it done in 6 days. It's going to be the 9th or the 23rd at city council. I think they'll be lucky to get either of those done. And then, there's also other things. I want a clarification. Are we going to apply February 15th, or can we apply tomorrow? All right. But I think it's this incumbent on this council that we watch what's going on and we do our job. And we're talking about a few extra days. And I don't think restaurants are going to make or break by it. And there was a lot of the other fund did not do well, right? We only gave out like half of it. And then we got up to 3/4. I know it was a different program, but there's nothing wrong with, having checks and balances. And there's going to be 100 applications. So there's no reason that we can't approve this list. So I think we should vote on it. It's time.
Alderman, hold on a second. Mr. Alexander.
I called the question.
Hold on.
Let me just, if I can answer Alderman Lofty, we are not starting this tomorrow. As I said earlier, we'd like to start on Monday. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done to prepare once you have approved the parameters that you asked us to prepare. So yes, we will be ready to go Monday, the 15th. We did say it will be first come, first serve. So as we get the applications out and we get them in, we're not going to wait until March 3rd to begin reviewing them. We're going to review as they come in and hope to build. In addition to everything else staff needs to do, we're going to do this, and this is going to be a priority. But as we sit here, I can't commit on behalf of staff that on March 4th, we're going to have everything done, because we very well may have folks applying all the way up until the end.
I call the question.
Let me just say this before.
Second.
Let me say this before we take this vote. Checks and balances is always a very good idea. To make sure that, as Alderman Bug pointed out, that if some restaurants or businesses fall through the crack, and also pointed out by Alderman Masiacos as well, that we can look at this list and say, oh, there's, other businesses we want to add to this list that will support our businesses here in the Aurora, because that's the purpose of this. And I think we all agree with that. The SURF program, the stable program, was to help our businesses here in the city. That's why the administration came up with these ideas, so we can help our businesses. What we cannot do is have, from what I heard last week at City Council, personal vendettas against businesses that we've determined that didn't stay closed long enough, or some that tried to stay closed for a while and then struggled and had to open up just to make money and pay the bills, and then others that stayed open the whole time. This is, at the end of the day, this is all about all of our businesses in Aurora being successful. Their success is our success, making sure we get the revenue from the tax dollars, making sure that we support our businesses. They employ people that live in Aurora. Their tax dollars come to Aurora. These are Aurora businesses. So let's, dispense with the personal vendettas against businesses because of our belief that they did or did not do enough, as the governor's orders, and just make sure that we get our businesses back up and running so we can get the city back up and running. So at this point, clerk, you call the roll. Wait a minute. This roll will be on the amendment and not the amendment that Alderman Bug made.
All right, I had the motion by Alderman Bug, seconded by Alderman O'Connor.
Correct.
Alderman Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos,
No.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco,
No.
Alderman Seville,
No.
Alderman Hart Burns,
Yes.
Alderman Smith,
No.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderman Lafshay,
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins,
No.
Alderman O'Connor,
Yes.
7 yes, 5 no.
All right, so the motion carries for the amendment. So the amendment that Alderman Bug put forward will be attached to the ordinance. Now let's take a vote on the ordinance itself, including the amendment.
I had a motion by Alderman Hart Burns and seconded by Alderman Seville.
Correct.
Alderman Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos,
Yes.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco,
Yes.
Alderman Seville,
Yes.
Alderman Hart Burns,
Yes.
Alderman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderman Lafshay,
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins,
Yes.
Alderman O'Connor,
Yes.
12-0.
Motion carries. Resolution is approved. The SURF program will
Mayor?
begin. Alderman Franco.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the question I posed before. Based on what Mr. Alexandru said, if we get caught in the middle, the list isn't done the day we want it to because of extraordinary circumstances. And because of that, we have to wait a week or whatever before it comes to city council, however we want to do it. Is the potential of a special city council meeting to expedite the process a possibility?
That's always a possibility, brother.
Okay, I just want to throw it in there because if it's a concern about getting this money out quick, we can do that if we want to, basically. So I just want to make sure we can take a look at that because I don't want to delay this 2 weeks because of this. I want to get it out as quickly as we can. So
We could, I'd like to speak to that. We could do what the city did, that they announced that they're doing this program before the council approved it. So we could say, just like we did for this, we could say, hey, here's the list of businesses that are going to be approved at city council. That way the restaurant would know they were getting it, and then we just a formality.
No, that's incorrect.
Well, that's what we did. We
Well,
sent out a press
we
release.
can't do with everything, brother. Yeah, you don't understand how it works. Mr. Lyons.
Now that this has been passed, city staff cannot put out any lists until the council approved. That would be like saying staff has approved a bid before the council has approved it. So, well, we will work as expeditiously as possible to make this happen, and we'll also communicate where we're at in the process as we go forward. I really appreciate all the discussion, and we are going to move forward and make it work.
Alderman Dino.
Mr. Mayor, if you could, and I know you normally do this, but if you could provide this information to the aldermen so that we can help get the word out to our businesses, we'd like to help and getting this information out.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, if I can address that.
Mr. Alexandru.
We will get hard copies to every alderman in their box as soon as we can. We'll also make it available electronically. We will work as expeditiously as we can to get you the information. Clayton also has committed, and his team, to promote this tremendously throughout the city. We're also going to use Invest Aurora's list. We're contacting our chambers of commerce. We have a very robust plan to get this out. And if I can again just reiterate to Alderman Lofty, we simply advised via press release because this item was going to the Finance Committee, and to get people informed about this, we made zero assumptions that this was going to be approved in advance. In fact, everything we put through said subject to city council approval. So I just want to clear the record so that people don't get the wrong information. It's critical that we pass uniform, consistent, accurate information about these types of programs to our businesses. That's what our intention is, and that's what we're going to attempt to do. And if any of you have any questions, once you receive anything from us, please do not hesitate to call us. We will answer all the questions, clear up any concerns, work with any business. Thank you very much.
All right, that concludes that. Let's go to there are no items that are new business. Mr. Lyons, do you have any report for taxable bond issue results for Old Copley Finance?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I will keep this brief.
Thank you, sir.
In your packet was it'll even be brief for me. How's that? We did bonds. Bonds, you sell them and then you close on them. We sold them last week. We closed on them in 2 weeks. We got a 2.2% interest rate. That is so far below the lowest I've ever gotten or seen. I mean, I've seen some of it recently, but and we got a lot of interest in the bonds. These are taxable bonds, so a tax exempt could have even been lower. We might have gotten below 2%. So this is moving forward as outlined. We will take care of the first lump sum payment. That's already been done. We will lower our line of credits per the resolution and the ordinance and use of the bond funds. So it was a very successful sale. I'd be happy to answer any questions. This is one I'm pretty confident. I don't think we'll ever refinance these bonds.
I do have a quick question.
Alderman Lofty.
And I'm sorry, Marty, whenever I ask you a question, you respond instantly, and I really appreciate that.
You're sorry about that?
I'm sorry that I didn't ask you this question earlier, but I couldn't find it. It wasn't, you sent us an email last week about the master statement, and I've been doing closings for 30 years, and this is a pretty complicated master statement. The closing statement, the Chicago Title I, but I saw something that concerned me, and there's a $9 million loan from the city of Aurora to Copley, and I thought we were going to give them $4.5 million now and $4.5 million when they finish the second. So I'm hoping this is just it looks like a journal entry, but.
You are exactly correct. That is a journal entry. They needed to disclose that amount. It is an undispersed amount. I had the exact same question to Chicago Title. I went through it quite a bit because I didn't like the format. It had this total journal entry format of $190-some million at the bottom. Was not comfortable, and so I did do a lot of due diligence in the background to make sure that I got up to 20.5 million in either reserves that left Chicago Title and went to other banks, or expenses that left Chicago Title and went to contractors and vendors. So that 9 million could be confusing, but I had the exact same question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions on Mr. Lyons' presentation?
And we did maintain our AA rating through a pandemic. So thank you all for your leadership. As you may see in the S&P correspondence, they do give us strong ratings for good management. And that goes all the way, that is the city council.
All right, that concludes Mr. Lyons' report. Is there a motion to approve and pay the
So
bill
moved.
on the agenda? Moved by Alderman Burns, seconded by Alderman Garza. Are there any questions or discussions on the bills? Any question, Alderman Lofty?
Sorry to be the contrarian again, but the first bill concerns me a little, and I did send an email out on it, and I did get a response, but I just got it. The payment to Ice Miller for $115,000 in legal fees was for this smart cities thing, this investment of 300 million that I don't think the council ever approved. And I'm just not happy to see this huge bill here, because when they came to our committee, we said, we don't want every house hardwired for internet. And before you do anything, you need to come to us for approval. And that didn't happen. And now I see this bill for this. And that's not right to me. I'm just not.
Point of order, please.
Alderman Masiacos. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Masiacos is going to recuse himself from the.
Ice Miller represents my firm. I just want to know from our legal advisor if I have to step away from this discussion if we move forward or not.
It may not be the worst thing for you to do, Alderman.
All right, then I'll recuse myself.
Alderman Masiacos recused himself, turn off his microphone and his video. So the question Alderman Lofty asked was there a reason to come back before City Council?
The question is that maybe staff needs the answer, or someone needs the answer, is where did this bill come from? Who authorized it? And we were specifically told that we would not move forward on any smart city thing without the committee approval or council approval. And when I saw this bill for $115,000 for that, I don't see who had authority to do that.
Mr. Alexandru, you want to explain to him?
Well, actually,
I'm sorry, Mr. Beanstrom.
Also.
I'm sorry, Mr. Beanstrom.
If it comes down to a question of authority, the authority to engage outside counsel for any project that's required for us to render our opinion on comes from section 2-261D of the city code. This was a matter in which the law department was required to opine and be involved with in order to prepare a potential agreement for the city council's approval. This was outside the expertise of our internal team, and we needed to bring in a team that was familiar with evaluating public-private partnerships and had experience in the technology and the telecommunications sector. There would not have been the potential of bringing an agreement to the INT committee or any other committee unless it had been fully vetted by the legal team. Otherwise, what would have come to the INT committee would have been an incomplete document, which there wouldn't have been any ability to act on. So this was money that was expended moving towards a comprehensive public-private partnership, only one component of which would have involved or touched upon the fiber.
But just to be clear, that agreement, this public-private partnership agreement, has not been brought before City Council yet, and it will be at some point in the near future, correct?
The agreement with Smart City Capital will likely not come to City Council.
I'm talking about for the expenditures of those services and the information that we learn from engagement with Ice Miller will be utilized at some point in the future and brought before City Councils, correct?
We expect the work product to be usable in the future,
yes. And
nothing can happen in regards to a public-private partnership or any of those particular items without City Council approval.
Right.
Smart City coming this year, right?
What's yes?
Smart
yes.
City. Okay, that's it.
No, I got an email saying the smart city is dead. So let's tell the truth.
No.
Okay? That was the email.
You're absolutely right. And nobody is, we are telling the truth.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is that we had to retain, as Rick said, subject matter expert attorneys in the various fields in the smart city arena, small s, small c. And so the work product and what staff and in-house legal counsel learned about this process was invaluable moving forward. So it's not gone for naught. So we continue to engage other avenues to become a smart city, small s, small c. Our relationship with Smart City Capital, all caps, as we advised you all, is no longer in play. So we're moving on, but we had to retain at some point in the process, And this has happened before with other highly technical issues that unfortunately are beyond the capability of staff, where we have to engage experts, whether it's bond counsel, whether it's technology folks. We have done that. So that's what we had to do here. So this bill is the culmination of that process.
Okay, so I'm going to say one more thing, and then we should move on. What you just said is great, but it's not fair. What the point is, the city council said, do not move forward without our approval. But
Alderman, with all due respect, we didn't move forward with anything.
Let me finish.
We did not.
Hold on, Alderman Lofty. Do not be disrespectful. Stop. Hold on a second, Mr. Alexander.
Alderman,
Don't
please. Rick just quoted you. The city council approved city code. There is no evidence that we move forward with any public-private partnership or any agreement to do any of the smart city initiatives that were discussed. Zero. And you don't have that. Nobody has that. We are putting forward the bill for the work that Ice Miller did to get us to a point where now it didn't work out with Smart City Capital, but we have the legal knowledge, the framework for an agreement to move forward.
But the point was, we told you not to move forward, and you did it anyway. That's the
no one moved forward, man. No one moved forward. Why
you hired a lawyer? You spent $115,000.
Hold on a second. Let me explain it. Let me explain in simple terms. We told the city council that we would share an omelet with you when we're done with the omelet, but we had to break some eggs before we made the omelet. That's all we did. Broke the eggs. We're working on an agreement that we're going to bring. Nobody lied. Nobody deceived. It didn't work out with Smart City Capital, that organization, but we're still working on a smart city plan, small s, small c, that we're going to bring before the city council soon. So just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that people.
Bullshit, I don't understand it. Don't say I don't understand it.
Alderman Jenkins. Alderman Jenkins.
Be a point of order. Mr. Mayor, I just need to make sure as I'm hearing all of this, and make sure I'm understanding. So in essence, there was this idea that was put together by the Smart City Capital folks, okay? And our legal team began to look at it, and there was things that were brought in there that was outside the scope of what our people could do. So we brought in experts in this field to review it. And they reviewed it and said, yeah, you may want to go another different direction. They would not do that work out of the goodness of their heart. They have to get paid. And so we paid them, but there's nothing that's come forward that says, okay, we're going to do this smart city initiative. It was just to review what was presented to our team. Our team brought people in to make sure that they could review what was being presented to them, which allowed us to be able to make a very decisive decision to say either yes or no with regards to this particular group. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly right. Now, okay. I apologize for getting a little upset, but when people start calling me and my administration and folks that work hard every day liars and deceivers, that just upsets me. So it's not the case by any means. Exactly what you said, Alderman Jenkins, is what happened, and we'll be as we told you before, still using this work product, bringing it forward, using it to make some agreement that we're definitely going to bring before City Council. We can't, this is a multi-million-dollar agreement that we're working on. Up to $300 million. The $150,000 was just for the lawyers to assist us getting to the point where we're going to be able to get to enter into this agreement for this $300 million. So there's no deceiving, there's no lying. We're telling the truth. It's just that, it didn't work out with that first organization, Smart City Capital. Alderman Bug.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Veenstra, probably for the future, and we do this with our other projects. Say you got a project and you have an engineer take a look at it. And we go into the project and we say that engineer is going to do the preliminary up to a certain amount. And we approve that or what have you. do we have those types? I know legal fees are very different. I realize that. But when these come forward, do we have, I mean, what if they went up to $300,000 in legal fees? Would that have come somewhere, finance committee or somewhere for us to become aware of it? Or how does that play out?
It would have been it would have been within the confines of the budget that was previously authorized by the city council. Now, this is a particularly unusual situation where the scope of the project changed in no small part due to the COVID crisis. Some of the assumptions that were part of the initial proposal changed. The way people traveled to and from and used the parking spaces, that would have had an impact on it because parking was a proposed component of the proposal. Issues with broadband and sending and having home broadband, that was something that also changed as a result of competition from the private sectors. So there were a number of things that changed during the course of the year that made this a little bit more difficult to put that kind of restriction on. Certainly, if we had gotten to this particular point where we were going to be exceeding the budget, that would have been a good stop point, and we would have stopped it at that point. But we were monitoring it. We were watching where our meters were. And again, this was a little bit more unusual than we would normally have in a project. It was far more comprehensive and wide-ranging than normally the type of development agreement that would come before the council.
Okay, can you refresh our recollection of what the budget was for legal on this?
The overall budget for the law department was approximately $329,000 last year, available for the expenditure for outside counsel.
Oh, okay, for everything, not
everything.
just one project. Yeah. Okay, okay.
I also want to apologize for losing my cool, but I just want to say that we're kind of all missing the point. I have no problem with legal fees and getting to this and that, but when a committee tells the staff, we do not want to move forward on this until we have our committee approval. And they then do it anyway.
Alderman, you keep saying the same thing. There's been nothing to approve, man. Why do you keep saying
to move forward? We didn't want it to move.
We haven't moved forward with anything. This is part of the legal process to get to that.
We'll agree to disagree. All
right, we're going to have to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so Alderman O'Connor.
Well, it's a situation where you always wonder if you question legal fees. That's what put my sons through college, and you know, got to be careful here. Mr. Veenstra, if I understand, this has really been a 9-month or a year process of analysis on this?
It began at the very end of January and was continuing through the beginning of December.
Okay. So it probably represents anywhere from 200 to 300 hours of legal assistance in regard to it based upon fees. 233
hours.
All right. You know, I think if we keep things in perspective, and I think it was mentioned that this was going to be a program that was going to involve tens of millions of dollars, if not into the next digit up, so that if in fact the work was being done to try to figure out all of this at the same time when the scenario was changing because of COVID, I think you got to keep it in perspective as to what's being done. We have a bill a little further on down this list to pay the law firm, and I think if the clerk or if Mr. Veenstra can verify this, is probably primarily for the work that's being done on the review of the Aurora Municipal Election Commission or committee. That bill represents the time that's been taken in regard to everything we've been doing on that. Is that correct?
For Ordelson and Stirk, yes.
Yes. Now that's $27,000, and I can tell you, and I think the mayor and the clerk can confirm, that's a heck of a lot of hours that we put into the proper process that's there and is appropriate for reviewing all of this. And I think if you compare that to the fact that this was a year or nine to 10 months exercise in trying to work this out, you know, the numbers are very high. They're difficult to accept at times, but I think when you look at the picture totally, it's something that had to happen in regard to getting this done. And I do appreciate Mr. Veenstra trying to, you know, take all of the elements of this and explaining this. I am also complimenting him on the best legal opinion that I've heard in quite a while. When he asked Alderman Masiacos, responded to his question, wouldn't be the worst thing to do. That's probably about the best way to answer some questions. If somebody's asking you, well, it wouldn't be the worst thing to do. So, but we have to live with this. I think we'll, have a work product out of it in any event that's going to be prepared for when we're seeing this come down the line, as to if this is still a possibility in order to move into the future.
And let me just add to Alderman O'Connor, in myself, Alderman O'Connor, and the clerk in participating in the Aurora Election Commission. That was only about a 3-week to 4-week process, and it ended up being $27,000. For the Ice Miller project, it's been going on close to a year. So if you put that in perspective, you'll see how it matches up. And that doesn't mean that we have an agreement that we entered into without city council approval. It just means this is the legal work that was put in to prepare us for the agreement that we'd like to bring before the city council at some point in the future. Alderman Yamas.
Thank you, Mayor. So this past weekend, I spoke to a church youth group about my role as an alderman, and I explained what city council does. And I just pray that that group is not home right now watching this video on Facebook or on YouTube. And we had an alderman curse here publicly. We had shouting back and forth, and we're supposed to be role models for our community. These are public meetings. We have our residents watching this at home, including children. And I think the public expects and deserves a lot better from us. So I just want us to act like adults going forward. This stuff happens way too often, and we can disagree without shouting at each other. Please, let's just all please keep it respectful.
I agree with that, Alderman Yamas. Thanks for bringing that up. And if your students are watching your church group, I would just say that I absolutely apologize. There's no excuse. Whether people call me names or not, I should always be the one to be the bigger person. And I'll work on trying to make sure we do that in the future. Any other questions on the bills? All right, with there no,
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Jenkins.
Yeah, in the bills, since it's good that we're doing the Zoom calls, because if we were in person, Bob and I would have to have zebra suits on, so to be referees. And being the two young guys on the council, I don't know, if we can be able to put that down. But if we got to do that, put in the bills and get us some zebra suits, we can do that.
Well, what we're missing, Alderman Jenkins, is the one time that I was acting as Mayor Pro Tem and I slammed the gavel down so hard that it made Alderman Irvin at that time jump. He asked me not to do that anymore. So that was a way to bring a discussion to end. So unfortunately, we can't. Mr. Mayor, you might want to just include your gavel at some point and bring it down.
It's hard to use a gavel when you're on on Zoom. But I remember that day, and that did scare the heck out of me. But I still, every time you get near a gavel, that still concerns me, brother.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. So, all right, Madam Clerk, let's take a vote on these bills. We've got a motion and a second, and we've had enough discussion. Will you please call the roll?
Alderman Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco,
Yes.
Alderman Seville,
Yes.
Alderman Hart Burns,
Yes.
Alderman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderman Lopshay,
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins,
Yes.
Alderman O'Connor,
Yes.
11-0.
Motion carries. The bills are approved. There is no need for a closed session.
Move adjourned.
Second. By Alderman Hart Burns, seconded by Alderman Garza. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Yamas,
Yes.
Alderman Garza,
Yes.
Alderman Masiacos,
Yes.
Alderman Donnell,
Yes.
Alderman Franco,
Yes.
Alderman Seville,
Yes.
Alderman Hart Burns,
Yes.
Alderman Smith,
Yes.
Alderman Bug,
Yes.
Alderman Lopshay,
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins,
Yes.
Alderman O'Connor,
Yes.
12-0.
This meeting is adjourned. We'll see everybody next week at COW. Have a good night.
All right.
Good night.